Hello, I'm Andrew Seltz from DIY Bookbinding, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a simple paperback book like this one, just a few folded over blank sheets and some cardstock for the cover, and I'm going to make it using my very simple DIY bookbinding jig. I'll show you how to make that in another video, and I'm also going to use a hot glue gun for this project. Normally I would use a PVA glue or some other kind of slower set glue, but this time I want to experiment with using hot glue. This is the type of glue that's used in most commercial binderies, so we're going to use this today in binding this book. So let's get to the work table and see how this is done. So this project is fairly simple. I just have some loose pages. They've been cut down to half letter size US. I've got a long sheet of cardstock that will create enough overhang that I can trim off the ends and bind it in one shot. I have my trusty Exacto knife here. I've got a bone folder. I've got a pencil for doing some basic marking. I've got, of course, my hot glue gun, and I've got my DIY bookbinding jig. There are complete plans for this jig if you want to build one of your own on the DIY bookbinding website. You can just follow the link in the video here to go right to that page and see the exact way that I built this. It's very simple. It's just made out of scrap wood. So the first thing to do is measure off the front of the cover. And I'm just going to take one of my sheets of paper, no fancy measuring here, I'm just going to take it and line it up with the cover, kind of square everything up, and then I'm going to make a light mark down here. And then I don't have a straight edge, but I do have the straight edge of a book block. So I'm going to use that to kind of line up my edge, and I'm going to score the spine using my bone folder. So I'm going to use the edge of that bone folder, get it on the line here, and create a nice score down the book. And then that will cause the book to fold, or the cover to fold very nicely. I'll get a nice crisp fold there right on the edge. Now I need to do the exact same thing on the opposite side of the spine, and I'll do that just by taking my book block, lining up all my pages, and give myself a little reference mark there just so that I can get the thickness of this, and I'll repeat the process with my folder. Make sure and leave myself just a little wiggle room, not too much, and lay that crease down. And this way here, I'll get a nice crease when I go to wrap. I'll get a nice crease here when I go to wrap this around the book block. Now, another thing that I like to do at this stage is I like to create an extra relief fold on the outside of the book block, about 1/4 of an inch, maybe slightly less than 1/4 of an inch away from the fold I just made. And I just kind of eyeball this. But I'm about yay big, just about 1/4 of an inch. And the reason you want to do this is because you're going to, at the end of this process, you're going to glue the edge of the front cover to the front page on the inside, and then this will be the hinge to allow the front cover to fold back and forth. That way you won't stress the binding every time you open the book. So just lay a nice crease down there, and then we'll flip around and do the exact same thing on the back cover. Again, about 1/4 of an inch. This is not exact. So these will fold out. So that gives you, if you see how that's going to go together there, you'll have just this little bit of a hinge, and you'll see this on most commercial paperback books. You see there's a little bit of a hinge here that will fold back and allow the stress to be relieved on the spine of the book. So with that done, the next thing to do is to load everything up into the binding jig. So I'm going to release the press plate here, and I'm going to put the front cover into the jig. Now this particular jig doesn't leave quite enough of the spine sticking out, so I will use a little bit of a spacer when I line everything up here to backstop the book and give me just a little bit more room to work when I'm binding. But I'm going to take all of my loose pages, kind of loosely jog them together, slide them in here. There we go. And I use this inside edge to get everything lined up, and then to put my little spacer in here, then I'll use the backstop to line up all the rest of it. And once I get everything lined up, and I push my press bar down and tighten down my thumb screws. I don't know if I've got this perfect, but it's close enough for now. We can trim the edges later if we need to. The main thing here is to show you the gluing process. So I've got the spine here revealed. I can pull back on my relief edge here just a little bit, and you'll see I've got the spine edge revealed here and about 1/4 of an inch of it. See if you can really see that. So you can see there's about 1/4 of an inch of that revealed across the top, so that way I won't end up gluing it to the top of this press board. And then once I put some glue across here, what I'm going to do is lay a pretty good bead of glue all the way down here from the hot glue gun. I'll have a few seconds for that hot glue to remain pliable, and I'm going to use the one last thing I didn't show you before, which is just a simple metal spreader that you can get from the hardware store, which I'm going to use to press the glue into the spine as well as spread it out and create an even coating. I'm not going to press down real hard because I don't want to wipe off the glue. I just want to make sure that it's nice and even and flat across here. So, and then once that's done, I'm going to flip the cover over and then push the book down into the cover, and then wait for it to dry. So you want to lay a pretty good bead. It's a good thing to have a sort of heavy-duty glue gun here, because you want to make sure you get a good rate of flow on this. You don't have a ton of time to work, and if you're using one of those smaller guns, you just don't get enough glue moving through. So now I'll take my spreader, and I'm just going to spread that glue into the spine. Now, if you find your glue is starting to set up on you, what you can do is use the edge right here of this tool. This nozzle is hot. That's what's melting the glue, so you can go back in and just kind of reheat the glue a little bit by running that nozzle across it. I'm going to put a little bit more on there because it looks like I missed a few pages. So I'm going to work a little faster this time, do a little less explaining. And then I'll flip that cover over and press the book down into the spine. Just going to give it a few seconds to set up. I'll flip it over here. I'm going to use my bone folder again just to make sure I've pressed this in as best I can. And then I'll take the book, loosen these up, and take this right out. And I'm going to make sure I finish the crease on this side. Just make sure I've got that cover folded over really well. And then I've got a little bit of glue there I'm going to pull out, a little lump. And then the last step of this process is going to be to come into that hinge on each side and lay a slight bead of glue in there, just to make sure that that hinge gets nice and securely fastened. So I'm going to lay a little bit of a bead in there, and then just press it in. And that'll make sure that that front page is really well connected to the front cover. And then we'll do the reverse in the back. Get a nice bead of glue in here. Fold that over quickly. And use your bone folder if you need to work that in. And then the last step is to take your Exacto knife and trim off the overflap on the back of the cover. Now it's best if you have a metal ruler to put underneath there. That's a good way to make sure you get a nice clean edge. I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. Last little bit through. And there we have the finished book, all ready to go. So that's really all there is to creating your own DIY perfect bound paperback book using nothing but a hot glue gun and a simple bookbinding jig that you can build yourself. You can do the exact same technique that I just showed you with a PVA glue if you don't want to go with a hot glue. The only difference is you'll just have to leave the book inside the bookbinding jig for a little while longer so that the glue can set up before you remove it from the jig. And then you'll do the same thing with the front cover and the back cover, adding a little glue along the edge to seal up that hinge and make sure it's connected to the front and back page. But that's all there is to creating your own book. The hot glue that's used in a hot glue gun is the exact same EVA glue that's used by commercial short-run bookbinding machines, like the kind you can buy for $4,000 or $5,000 on the internet. So you have the capacity to do a commercial-grade, perfect-bound book using nothing more than what I showed you. The main thing is you'll have to practice a little bit just to get the glue application right. Make sure you have the right amount of glue on there so that you get a firm connection to the pages and the binding. But that's just a matter of practice. And if you find yourself having some small lumps or irregularities in your spine, you can use a hot iron to re-soften the glue and rework it just a little bit. Just be careful not to make it too hot or else you'll scorch the paper. So practice again makes perfect with that. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was a very helpful tutorial for you. If you liked it, please like our page and subscribe, share this video with a friend, and visit our website, DIYbookbinding.com. I'm Andrew Seltz. Have a great day.